Well, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by David Popa, an incredible artist, and to celebrate the second season of Prehistoric Planet with the legendary David Attenborough. You're bringing the Jurassic Coast back to life to give a realistic depiction of what it would have been like for those dinosaurs 66 million years ago. Can you tell me all about this amazing project?
Yeah, so essentially I'm an artist, I'm a land artist, and I do these massive earth frescoes, we call it. It's basically these earth murals, and I use these basically prehistoric pigments, so chalk, charcoal, and earth, and I just mix it with water and I throw it in like a cheap garden sprayer, and I sort of develop my own sprayers, and I do these enormous works of art on the ground, and it can only be seen from above with the drone. And so the project was to collab with Prehistoric Planet for season 2 and basically create an enormous piece on the Jurassic Coast in Dorset, and the dinosaur we chose was Triceratops, and so it was a crazy adventure.
I can imagine, and using these prehistoric pigments, it's really interesting because that's what people would have used in caves 60,000 odd years ago. So, how do you feel about going back to basics and doing art in the same way that it would have been done in its original methods?
So I originally started as a street artist. My dad was actually one of the original graffiti writers, and so I used spray paint for many, many years. And I wanted I wanted to get back into nature. Growing up in New York City as a kid, like I love nature, and so I did all this research about what pigments would have been used, like cave painters would have used, and I started using these, chalk, charcoal stuff that you could literally like you could after a campfire you can make your own charcoal practically. And something very the process is actually very mysterious. I mean, being able to use these sort of primitive pigments and being out in nature creating art, I really can't pinpoint what it is, but it's a sort of otherworldly, ethereal experience. If any other artists have experienced sort of states of flow or states where you're outside of yourself, like a transcendent feeling, that's sort of what I feel when I'm out in nature and using these natural materials, making this work.
Absolutely. You touched on your dad there, an incredible artist in his own right. Could you talk to me about what it was like growing up with him and how much he inspired you?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I wouldn't be an artist if it wasn't for my father, and he instilled in me sort of the curiosity and being able to just follow your creative whims and your guiding star wherever that's going to take you. And so, I just remember, for example, for my birthday, up until I was probably around 11, 12 years old, he would almost, we would basically play, or in the US we call it play hooky, but we would cut school, and he would bring me to like the Natural History Museum or we would just go out on these adventures, and he would always sort of give permission to chase after these sort of dreams and creativity, which was crazy. I mean, like there's very few parents that would encourage you like my dad did to be a professional artist. I mean, I just vividly remember he was like, Dave, there's nothing better that you can be than being an artist. And it's just most parents would just be like, please don't be an artist. We have no idea how you're gonna pay and survive. but but yeah, it's just an incredible childhood, to be honest, I had.
That's pretty incredible. I like this idea of your dad taking you out of the school system with this overwhelming feeling you were capable of achieving so much more. So it's fantastic to see that he had such inner belief in you. And it appears that his intuition was right because you've done something amazing here. You've made the Triceratops on the Jurassic Coast. And I believe in Utah, you've made a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So that's pretty cool too.
That's right. It's been crazy. Yeah, basically in the span of 2 weeks, I went from I'm currently actually based in Finland, and so I took my paddleboard out and did an island dinosaur called Hatzegopteryx. So we started there, then went and flew to Utah and did T-Rex there, then finished off with Triceratops on the Jurassic Coast. And so it was a wild adventure, and each of them had their own difficulties and beauties, and the landscape always sort of brings its own beauty and flair to the piece that you could have never anticipated. So this just adventure was mad, but it was awesome.
So you've done some pretty cool things. You've made the Triceratops, you've made the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I've got to ask you, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, as a kid, it was always Triceratops. I don't know what it was about. It was just from I don't know. I think it was the Land Before Time show, and then I think David Gurney, a very famous illustrator, did a series of books. I mean, it was always Triceratops. I remember vividly like flipping through books, and it was just Triceratops was always the winner.
So you've been about, you've done some amazing things. Obviously, growing up in New York, living in Finland now, and I've been to some of the Scandinavian countries. Not Finland yet; it's most certainly on the bucket list. But can you tell me about if living there has inspired your art in any types of ways?
Oh, there's just no question. Like I would not be doing what I'm doing today if I didn't moved to Finland, and that's just mainly because, when I moved over there, I didn't the beauty of the archipelago. I mean, you just literally had these massive granite, slabs of rocks, and we would go boating with friends. And it was just through a series of events that I was like, well, is there any way for me to create in these sort of crazy, beautiful, ethereal landscapes? And slowly but surely found that I could, do it, and through the eye of my drone record it. And so if it wasn't for Finland, I mean, there's no way if I lived in New York City, I would just, it would just sort of dawn on me to go to paddleboard to islands and create works of art in the middle of the ocean. It just, there's no way it would have happened.
And you've obviously played such a pivotal role in this new series with David Attenborough, Prehistoric Planet, the second season. Are you going to be watching this?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. I mean, season one sort of blew my mind and what it was able to do to sort of bring a character to each of the dinosaurs. I mean, in ways that you never anticipate, sort of like almost bring a sort of humanity to T-Rex. Everyone thinks it's sort of the apex predator. And then all of a sudden he's being presented as, I mean, you're just sort of sharing the life of these creatures in this sort of natural history style documentary. And so, oh yeah, I'm going to try to watch it every day, if possible.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. It seems your creativity knows no bounds. You're doing all sorts of amazing projects. What's the next one you've got coming up?
All right, the next big project is to be a father. So the craziest part of this project was the moment I arrived back home in Finland, my wife went into labor and gave birth to our third child. So I'm just going to try to hang out, maybe watch the show with the kids and just connect as a dad, because this was a crazy adventure, and hopefully just try to rejuvenate for the next one, which I don't know what it's going to be yet, but being a dad is enough right now.
Well, I look forward to seeing whatever it is. You mentioned that obviously now your third kid. Your older two, do they know about the art process? Have they seen what dad does?
Yeah, it's sort of been like, Daddy, why are you always working on this dinosaur project? The past month has been like, Daddy, again with the dinosaurs. Like, what? And so yeah, they're getting more and more inquisitive as to why I'm traveling so much and why do I have to go again to talk about dinosaurs. And but it's been incredible to be able to share the process with them, especially my younger son. He prefers to watch the series with me than my older daughter, but yeah, it's been great to do that with them, and share that experience.
Absolutely, David. I'd like to thank you so much for speaking to me today. It's been a privilege, and I've loved talking all things dinosaurs. Always an interesting topic. But before I let you go, is there anything you would like to add, or anyone that you would like to shout out to close the interview?
Oh man, honestly, I can't think of anything right now. I think we covered it all. Yeah, yeah, it's been an incredible adventure, and there's so many people that sort of behind the scenes was involved with making this happen, and so I think they know who they are.